I had these prepared questions, but I'm going to toss those out in the beginning and ask you, what we just saw in the, earlier this morning from Microsoft, there was one thing that was very specific. We saw Twitter integration with Bing. And then Yusuf and Chi said, oh, and by the way, we're also doing this with Facebook. But they didn't show anything. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So what they were announcing today was that we are working with Microsoft to give them a feed of our data that's open to the public. So if you post a status update on Facebook and your privacy settings are set to everyone, meaning it's open to everyone and to the world, we're going to give Microsoft a feed of that data so that in the Bing search results, you'll be able to find it.
And so when is that going to show up in Google?
You're greedy. I almost answered that question.
Damn.
Not noticing you had changed the noun on me. Nothing to announce on Google right now.
Well, you know some people over there.
I know people very well. They're great people.
For those of you who don't know, Sheryl came to Facebook from Google, where you ran monetization. And it's sort of a big job, and things worked out pretty well over there at Google. There was news. I think it's fair to say, isn't it?
Still not going to answer the question, but keep trying.
There was news recently that was made by Mark in a blog post and has been amplified a lot about a month ago or 3 weeks ago that Facebook is profitable. Has been and continues. It looks to be profitable going forward. And my guess is that's something that you're somewhat proud of because you have a very large operating cost base to keep 300 million people happily connecting to each other. What did that? How did you manage that? Were you certain that was ever going to happen?
Yeah, I think we did know that was happen. The short answer is revenue grew. And grew well. We have a robust advertising business. We sell different types of ads to different types of channels. But we think we are, and I think the numbers are now proving it, really bringing the promise of what the web thought it would do for advertising to bear. That, when the web came out, everyone said this is going to revolutionize advertising. Advertising will be different. It will no longer be one-to-many, a one-way communication where you just blast your message to people. But if you look at what actually happened on the web, there was some innovation, certainly around search ads. There was a lot of innovation. But a lot of the brand advertising on the web is really that same pattern. It's one-to-many blasting out via a video or a banner ad. And our ads are different. Our ads start from a place where we start, which is Facebook's where you are yourself, your authentic self on the web. And so our advertisers are able to engage with you in that realm, which is really important. And Facebook's where you discover and share. So you are able to engage with marketers the way you would your friends and discover and share. And that's been really important to what is really, I think, starting to show that can work on the web. And that's why we were able to announce that we're not only profitable, but cash flow positive as well, ahead of schedule.
Right. And with the capital base you have, that's pretty significant. I want to get back to the question of how that revenue breaks out. I'm interested in the online ad platform that you've put in place that's starting to, it seems to me, get a lot of, from the folks that I know in the search business, there's a whole ecosystem of people who grew up around the Google and Overture, the SEO, SEM marketplace, and then the professionals who began to sort of instrument the AdWords, AdSense world so that they could bring clients in at scale and use APIs and so on and so forth. And it seems that they're starting to talk about doing the same with the Facebook platform. But before we get to some of that, I'm curious, now that you're profitable and cash flow positive, what's the date of the IPO?
Oh, we're going to announce that later.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Nothing to say on going public.
Well, I'm sure that the industry would be very pleased to have another big event that could sort of Netscape us to the next level.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to that, to the online ad platform. How important has that been in terms of scaling the business?
Really important. We sell ads two ways. We sell ads through a direct sales force. We've expanded from the US internationally over the last year, and that's going very well. And those ads primarily appear on our homepage. And we sell through an online ad platform that's now available in 28 languages and 15 currencies. And both have grown, both explain the increase in revenue, which has been the success we've had this year.
So let me ask you about a trend that seems to be happening, and I think that the announcements with Bing and Twitter and Facebook are indicative of this trend. But it seems, according to both anecdotal and some actual research, that the referral ecosystem is shifting. We had a period of stability, I suppose you could say, of about 5 to 8 years or so, where search was king in terms of distributing the attention of people around the internet ecosystem. People are noticing, if you have sites, that the referral logs are increasingly Facebook, Twitter, and other sharing sites. You must have noticed that while you were at Google.
Did notice that.
And then you're at Facebook now. So is there any connection?
Yeah.
And do you think, let me ask an unfair question.
I look forward to that. Go ahead.
Should Google be worried about that trend?
So, primarily what I saw and we see at Facebook is there is a very fundamental shift going on from what we think of as the information economy to what is more the social economy, or the information web to the social web. So the question is, how do you get the information you want to get? And Google provides a very important service that we think is going to continue to be very important, which is searching publicly available sites and answering questions. But it's doing that in an anonymous way. It's information from strangers, the wisdom, of the web. We believe in the wisdom of friends. So example I had from 2 days ago is my son, who's 4, reads the book Where the Wild Things Are, and a friend of his told him there's a movie. So he wants to go to the movie. But I heard from other people that it's scary, so you shouldn't take really little kids to this movie. So I posted into my Facebook status, and I don't even think I opened it to everyone, just to my friends, and I have a larger friend network. And I said, has anyone who has young kids taken young kids to see this movie, and is it too scary? And I got, I think, around 18 comments, and basically the answer was, don't take your kids to this movie. It's scary, and the guy's arm gets cut off. And I wanted that, sorry to ruin it for you, or apparently
wait, that wasn't in the book?
Yeah. Well,
you know what Sendak, you did hear what Sendak said about that idea that it's too scary for young kids.
No, what did he say?
Let them wet their pants.
Right, okay. So maybe I didn't need the wisdom of friends for this particular example, because that would have done it for me. I would have definitely not taken my kid to that movie. But I wanted that information from people I trusted who know my kids and have friends. And
right.
I believed that more than I could believe a publicly available source.
No, we just saw a service earlier this afternoon before lunch called Aardvark, which leverages the Facebook social graph to answer those questions. Now, one could say, and you've got that classic kind of platform problem, which is you could get that question answered in your status update, or you could use a service that's been developed on top of Facebook as well as Twitter and other places, IM and so on, but to do the same thing. How do you manage that developer relationship, sort of tension between the things that you've got that you do in-house and decide to roll in-house, and the things that you want to encourage the development community create on top of this, the value you have?
So the platform strategy has been really important for Facebook, and Mike Schrepfer was up here before, and he showed our incredible growth from 100 million users to 300 just in the time he's been with us. And we think that's explained by the power of what we do, but also by the fact that we have an open platform. And we don't try to build every single thing our users will want to use, but we focus on building the core technology, which builds out the social graph, builds out the ability to share in the feeds, and then people develop on top. So we have actually over 1 million developers. We have 250 applications that have 1 million users each, which means that those people are engaged through Facebook doing things our developers do. And for us, we basically focus on the core technology and let our developers build out those specific uses, and we're fine with that. To go back to the specific question, we want people to connect and share through Facebook. We are indifferent if they do it in their status update, or they do it by posting to a friend's wall, or they do it on an app that's developed on our platform, or even through a site that's Facebook Connect enabled. What matters to us is that we are the technology through which you connect to the people you want to connect to.
You're not alone in wanting to be that. Earlier this year, Google announced some news around Google Profiles, for example. I think Twitter, at least as of this unless you were just busy doing something I'm unaware of, is still not a division of Facebook.
Always looking for a good, juicy announcement, aren't you?
Well, you know, we've had a few. We might have a couple more. But what is it about, you think, what is Facebook's sort of unique proposition as opposed to, you know, what Google might do, or your partner now, Microsoft, and has been your partner in the past, in terms of competing for being that social graph? And Owen Van Atta is going to be here later at MySpace, and he's going to have some announcements about what they hope to do. So do you think that particular cake is baked, or do you still look over your shoulder?
So no cake is ever baked in the internet space, I think, for any industry, but we have to be vigilant and make sure we are continuing to iterate and provide the best product. In terms of providing that core functionality, though, that's really where we start, and that's not where any of the other companies start. We start from a place that Facebook is where you are yourself on the web. It's where you put up the most personal information, and it's where you choose to share it. We give people by far the most privacy controls that exist on the web. Facebook's the only place where I can share something with one person, I can share something with a small group, you know, my high school friends, or I can share something with the whole world. And then we do this at scale so that, as Shrep said before, you know, 300 million people come to Facebook and they get an individual newsfeed of the information they want to see that's right. Personal to them. All those other companies are doing important things, but that's not where they start.
Right.
And so I think in terms of, you know, are we the leaders in providing that service and using our technology that way? I think there's no question.
So let's talk about Facebook Connect. I think that this crowd understands what it is and how it, you know, how it works. But maybe you can give a quick overview of that, and then I want to ask a follow-up question. But tell me, is Facebook Connect now what it was when you launched? Has it changed any? And are there plans to make it more robust in any way?
So what Facebook Connect is, in its simplest terms, is an extension of our platform that if you are on a third-party site, so the Huffington Post, I just saw Eric, he's here somewhere as an example of a partner. There are 15,000 of them. You can log into that site with your Facebook identification, and you are bringing your friends to that site. So, for example, on the HuffPost, you can log in with Facebook, and then you can look at stories, and you can see what stories your friends have read, and you can see what stories, any comments your friends have made. So you're able to take your social network, your social graph, and use it for any site. For us, it's hugely important. I was telling John this backstage, but when I first took this job a year and a half ago, I would have these meetings, and I would sit down with publisher of X website, and the person would say, Sheryl, I just know that there's a community of people around X. I just want to build a community on my site. And I think people genuinely do, as they travel around the web, want to share with their friends, but they're not going to go around setting up a friend network on every site they go to. But by making it easy that you already have your friend network established on Facebook, when I go to City Search, when I go to JibJab, when I go to Dig, I can look at information from everyone, or I can look at information from my friends, and that's what we're enabling.
But how much more will we be able to do? Not everybody who I might want to interact with on my site or a site I spend time on is necessarily my Facebook friend, right? So are you going to be enabling a lot of the core functionality inside the domain of Facebook, outside through Connect?
Our goal is to bring as much as we can, give people as much technology as we can to enable them to share. Our goal is to help you share the most we can, both on Facebook and off. And obviously, we continue to build and iterate and roll out that functionality. Make it more and more useful, hopefully.
So if you look at the adoption of Facebook Connect across the web, and I'm sure it has a nice kind of upward to the right adoption, it looks to the untrained eye like a potential, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way, but a potential Trojan horse for a monetization service that might also roll out alongside of Facebook Connect, such that it might become, to use an allegory, an AdSense-like product for the rest of the web. Is that in the plans?
Not now. I mean, we were asked it all the time, and it's obviously the right question. But for us, you know, we focus on building products for users, and then we think about the monetization later. And I'm not saying that in a cute way, because we are very focused on monetization. We have a very robust ad business that is funding our investment, not just in Facebook, but in Facebook Connect. Right now, our focus is to make Facebook Connect easier to use. We want the APIs to be more easy to implement on the side of the partners, and working with partners to get really deep, really cool integrations so people can see the power of what it does. We're not working on anything that puts monetization alongside that for right now.
Are developers asking you for that? I wonder, because I think there was sort of there's more and more developers, certainly, as you point out, over 1 million, but I think there was a period where there was just a huge rush to develop applications for Facebook on the platform inside the domain, and maybe perhaps more noise than signal when it came to what was valuable and what wasn't. How do you ensure that there's an ecosystem where developers can get paid?
So there's different types of developers here, even though the worlds are mixing. People who start from Facebook Connect usually have their own website and their own business. That's pretty robust. Right. I mean, the HuffPost example I used before, these places have, as I mentioned, have businesses. The ABC News is a partner. They have a business. And they're looking to socially enable, and what they're asking for is more users and more engagement and less anonymous activity. So for ABC News, when Michael Jackson passed away, they streamed the memorial service on their site. And what they found is by using Facebook Connect, people were watching and sharing, so they got more people watching and more people engaging. And they're monetizing that site already. So
and that's good for you as well, because it drives more engagement through to your site.
That's right. So if I'm watching on ABC News and I want to post something about Michael Jackson, that goes into my news feed, and then that's more interesting content for my users, my friends, right, et cetera. So that's really good for us. But what our Connect partners are primarily asking us for is not monetization, actually. It's how do I make my site more social? How do I get people to come back to my site? How do I get people to really engage and care about the content I'm providing? On the platform side, the platform is quite robust. I know Mark Pincus, I think he already spoke here, maybe yesterday. He already spoke here.
Oh, he tried. He had some issues with the clicker.
Oh. Well, his products work quite well on our platform. I can't say much about yours.
It wasn't entirely his fault.
But Mark Pincus is a great example. Zynga didn't really exist a year ago. And now they have a very large, thriving business. And so what we hear from developers is they want great technology that enables them to build products that they can engage users. And then different ones of them have monetized in different ways.
I'm glad you brought up Zynga, because Zynga is a very large merchant account of PayPal. And that's how they make their money, even though they have a lot of their value through Facebook. So my question to you is, are you going to do your own payment system? I think there's been discussions of that. And if so, when and what are the details?
So there's a lot of speculation on payments, so don't want to fuel the speculation and not going to talk about what we might do. But I will talk about what we are doing. We do two things on payments. One is we have a large ad system with tens of thousands of users, and we enable payments to pay for ads. And that's actually something we've done a lot over the last year. Facebook is growing very quickly, both domestically and internationally, and we needed people to be able to buy ads internationally.
Right. And that's very similar to Google. I mean, exactly. Google had a big payment system, and then all of a sudden checkout came out, and everyone got upset. So you may have learned something from that experience.
So the second thing we're doing right now is we enable people to buy virtual goods in our gift store. We have a little gift shop where you can buy virtual goods, and you can pay with Facebook credits. So there's obviously a payment system. And we are doing some testing with a couple of developers to see if they can use credits in applications they have. That's all we're talking about right now.
You're in a learning phase.
We're in a learning phase.
When Ev was here yesterday, I asked him whether or not he was flattered by some of the changes on the Facebook domain that feel a little Twittery. Was that a response? Do you give some credit to what Twitter did, or was it already in the product plan? Because obviously news status updates preceded Twitter, but there was certainly some shifts that occurred about and around the time that there may or may not have been discussions about a deal.
Yeah. So anyone who's worked at Facebook knows that change is very much in the DNA, and so our pace of iteration and change, existed long before I joined the company, long before there was Twitter. It comes from Mark, and it comes from really trying to iterate, as Shrep said, and continue to evolve the product. We think Twitter's impressive. They've built something really important. We think the world is moving towards more sharing, more real-time sharing, and more connections. I wasn't at the company then, but at Facebook, when we launched status updates, the world's reaction was, why? Why would anyone want some small little snippet of what you're doing right now? And now Twitter, the world accepts that 140 characters is useful information to be shared with the world and even be integrated into important products like Bing. And so that's a global movement of how people communicate and how they use technology to change their lives. We know, and I think Evan said this yesterday too, we know there's room for more than one player in that. We think Twitter's a really important player in that, and we think we're a really important player in that, even though we're coming at it from slightly different ways.
The scale is very different in terms of the number of people on a given day and the amount of status updates in a given day between Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, we are doing, I think we're just announcing this today, but we do 45 million status updates a day from 30 million unique individuals. That's a lot. For us, once again, that shows that people want to share, that no one is asking anymore, why would you just want to, share what am I doing right now? That's pretty well accepted. And our challenge, and I think lots of people are working on how to do more of that.
Right. We're going to have time for Q&A, so please come up to the mics. Anyone who wants to ask Sheryl a question. I have a question from, we had a contest where folks asked questions, and I promised the winners that I would ask the question. One of them was for you. Has the vision changed? And I think you've addressed this in some way already, but maybe you can restate it in a new way. Has the vision of what Facebook was changed, either since before you came or when you came and sort of looked at the company and became Mark's partner? Has the vision shifted or changed since then? You identified something and said, we need to, no, we're going this direction, but we need to look at this as well.
I don't think the vision's changed, and I wasn't around, but from what I understand, the vision hasn't changed since Mark was in his Harvard dorm room starting this thing on one computer. That the vision is to help people connect. Use technology to help people share and connect. Certainly what we build to enable that change and shifts all the time, and we're really committed to continuing that process of change. We want our site to keep evolving. We want our products to keep evolving because we think the world is moving faster, and we want to make sure, even as we get to be, we're still a small company, but a bigger company, that we continue to innovate and iterate and build things and put them out there quickly. It's really important to who we want to be as a company.
I forgot to mention that was Soren Gordhammer who asked that question. Now, while we wait hang on one second, because folks may not know or may not recall that your background included, you don't have the standard sort of Valley entrepreneur background. You were at Treasury in the Clinton administration, and you were very involved in the sort of in the political system and the government. And we've had a lot of government speakers so far. We had Carly Fiorina last night, who appears to be making a bid for the Senate. Let me ask you this. How do you think the Valley is doing at having a conversation with Washington, D.C.?
It's a great question, and one I really feel strongly about. I think it was great to see Anish and others, so much government involvement here. I think, and I thought this then when I was in the government, I think this now, that Silicon Valley is just an amazing force for our economy. We as an industry and as an area of the country that is putting technology, wherever it's made, not just Silicon Valley, but we're changing the world, and we build products that change people's lives and have a really profound impact on the economic development. I think our impact on policy is not as profound. There are industries that understand how important those ties are, I think, more deeply than ours. And I think one thing you see no matter where you are on the political spectrum is that the core things that this industry, the core kind of political platform that this industry needs to believe in, globalization, immigration policy that really makes sense and enables us to grow our jobs, free trade or freer trade. Those things are, both sides of the aisle are having a hard time being for those in very firm ways. And I think we as an industry have more to do because we are probably the strongest, best voice for those things. And those things are really important. They're important for Facebook, they're important for Google, they're important for HP, for Cisco. All of these businesses rely on the free movement of capital and labor. And I think we need to speak up for it and speak up for it loudly.
And we don't think we've done nearly as good a job as we might.
I think we can do better.
Thank you. Question here?
Hi, Sheryl. Stephen Levy. So that was a great positioning statement to say that Google is information from strangers, Facebook is information from your social network there. But going back to some of those changes that John saw as Twitter-esque that Facebook's implementing, specifically ones which open up information, like a status, to an open search there. Isn't that more in direction of strangers there? And it seems to me that, from my understanding of what Facebook was originally positioned as, that might be sort of a philosophical shift. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So privacy has always been very much at the center of what we do. And by privacy, we mean two things. We mean disclosure and control. So what Facebook has always offered is the ability to differentiate the information you share. On Facebook, and I think only Facebook, you can share some information with some people and some information with everyone. And so allowing the ability to take the everyone information and make it more public is just a continuation of that and isn't really a philosophical shift. We are going to continue, as we roll out products, to give users choices and try to make those choices more granular. I think you've seen on the site that we now offer those choices more and more in different places of the site. So now with every single time you post a status update, you can choose. Do I want this to be for everyone, or do I want this to be just for my family group, or this just to be for these friends? And so it's really a continuation of that, and our working to give people more choices so they can share information in different ways with different people.
I don't see another. I have another question for you. It's very clear that a lot of the companies that are sort of in your, at least the internet peer set, Yahoo, AOL, MySpace come to mind, are all organizing themselves around a strategy that might be best, sort of their North Pole is content. Facebook has never really had that as a center of gravity. Is that ever going to change? Because there's an awful lot of sharing of content through links in particular going on, and posting a video now and other things. Is that going to change? Are you going to have are you going to be here a year from now and talking about your big push as a content?
No. No, it's not going to change. I mean, we're busy enough trying to just build technology that helps people share across our site and across mobile devices, across the rest of the world. Our content comes from users. We are a platform that helps you share whatever content you will. And as you said, increasingly, we are really important referrers of people from our site to that content. But we're very happy for other people to be producing that content, and then for users to pick what they want to share. We're not going to hire an editorial staff and start procuring our own. So
you heard it here, folks.
Hey, John, Sheryl. Aaron Kalo from the Online Marketing Summit. We do conferences related to the marketing professional. So my question really is, what's your advice to the marketing professional trying to connect at such an individual level on Facebook or any social network? What is the typical line of thinking you guys project out to the marketer trying to make the most of your platform?
So we offer a number of products that people use, and advertising products to go along with those. The biggest piece of advice we have is do it quickly and iterate. So I think the typical approach to marketing on a lot of sites is, or offline too, is you plan things for a long time and then you execute. You plan out a TV commercial, you film it, you send it off, you work on your banner ad purchase, you do your banner, you purchase. Facebook is much more iterative because it is that promise of two-way marketing. So the best advice for us, set up a page, do some advertising to get people to connect and fan your page, and then keep changing your messages. Putting a little bit of content up once a day is much better than a big push. And I think it's reflective of what people are doing online. People are spending time on Facebook, and they spend time in a very fast, iterative way. We think marketers should interact exactly that way, and our most successful marketers, whether they're the small mom and pop or people who are ad agencies for others or large companies, that's exactly what they do.
Thanks.
Do we have one more? Is that David?
I had a question.
Oh, sorry, over here.
I thought the Bing announcement this morning was interesting, but given that Bing is a smaller player in the search market, and given your background at Google, can you imagine a future where, I'm sure you can't announce anything, but it was a non-exclusive deal. So what possibly could be the interesting mashups between Google and Facebook in the future?
I'm a very imaginative person. I can imagine lots of things, but still have nothing to announce. Did you pay him for this? No.
I'm a proxy for the audience. Yeah. They want to know.
But if the question more broadly is, are we working to partner with lots of players to take information and enable people to share it? The answer is yes. And so we do have a partnership strategy. We are a great referrer of people and sites and distribution to other sites. We want them to refer to us. And so we have an open platform, and we want to work with lots of people across the web, and it's definitely a big part of our strategy.
That was not a no.
just to follow up, what would stop Google?
Nor was it a yes, technically. Technically.
What would
Half full,
stop
half empty.
so a person like Google has to have an agreement to access the APIs for your search results? Is that the agreement with Bing?
So,
what is the actual agreement that you have with Bing? Yeah,
so the Bing agreement is that we are giving them a feed of our everyone data, excuse me, which is data that's made open to everyone. We're giving that to them in a feed. So that was obviously a deal we had to do, and working out the terms of what information we'd provide and how they would use it.
And whether or not money exchanged hands. Did money exchange hands?
No money exchanged hands. We are not trying to make money on data.
Huh. So I think wise of you. Okay, David, quick, because we're running a bit over
just
time.
Just a quick question. This is David Battelle. I'm really curious. A couple of years ago, there were a lot of startups, social networks for boomers, and the perception was that older people weren't on Facebook, just kids. But now, everybody my age and older is on Facebook. And I was wondering, did you consciously set out to do that, or did it just sort of happen? What are your thoughts about that?
Since I'm kind of an old person for Facebook, I thought maybe I was like, get my demographic on there. Yeah. No, we want everyone to use Facebook. And as the site here in the United States started in its college route, so it started in a certain age demographic, and as we've grown, we've spread across many age demographics. And here, the fastest growing group is over 35 in the United States. In other countries like Canada, where we started later, we didn't even have those college routes, and the site grew across, a group of broader demographics right from the very beginning. So I think the youth perception really is from its roots, and I think that's kind of long gone. The nice thing about Facebook is, as Shrep once again said before, is it's personal to everyone. So if I want to get on Facebook and interact only with people in my college class, I can do that, and then it's my age group segmented, and that's my choice. Or if I want to friend my parents and grandparents, I can do it. But I think the whole, oh my God, my mom's going to be on, am I going to get off, ended once people remembered that their mom can be on all day and see none of their data unless they choose to share it. So the interaction between generations is every individual's choice.
Yeah, well, my wife was upset because our granddaughter wouldn't befriend her, so I know she
I actually get asked that a lot when I speak publicly. Someone in the audience, and thank you for not doing this, will say, my kid won't friend me, what can I do? And I'm thinking, like, not in the job description.
That's kind of like I'll
I don't know
stop
what you can
asking
do.
Brian Roberts to do customer service.
Exactly, I don't know what you can do.
I can't fix your interpersonal familial relationship.
Exactly, I don't know. My kid's 4.
Oh, just you wait. Please join me in thanking Sheryl for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.